do this? Yeah? Hello, everyone. Good evening. Doesn't work? Hello? Hello, may I ask you for silence briefly? Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. I am Gabby Wood, as some of you know, the director of the Booker Prize Foundation, but most importantly, on this occasion, Neil McGregor's warm-up act. Thank you so much for being here, particularly in this weather, and particularly in a beautiful construction with a hole in the roof. I hope you survive. In a moment, Neil will announce the Booker Prize shortlist, and he'll say many more eloquent things than I will about the process of arriving at it. But before that, I'd just like to say a few thanks and tell you a little bit about some of what's been going on behind the scenes. So first of all, thank you, as I said, for being here. Thank you to all the publishers who make these books happen, make them exist at all. Thank you to 4 Communications, 4 Culture in particular, not only for putting on this event, but for their extraordinary and collaborative work year-round. Thank you to the trustees of the Booker Prize Foundation, in particular Mark Damazer, our chair, but to all of them, many of them whom are here tonight, and to our funders, Michael Moritz and Harriet Hyman, who through their foundation Crankstart fund the Booker Prizes. It's wonderful to have you here this evening. And I would also like to thank our ever-expanding, perhaps not ever-expanding, but certainly expanding at the moment, executive team. I think we all feel very lucky to be working under the auspices of these people and to have the support, I should say, of our advisory committee. Before I tell you more, I'd also like to thank Booker, who have given us the champagne, which you are all drinking. Most of all, though, I'd like to thank this year's judges. Shahid Abari said this morning that she felt as though they were reading for their lives. And there has been a lot of reading, but I believe they are all still alive. In fact, they're all here. They're also reading on behalf of the world. So it makes a huge difference that these judges come from such varied reading backgrounds, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment. We know what creative writing is. I think we don't often talk about creative reading, but I do think that is what the judges are doing, and I think it's what the Booker Prize exists to encourage in us all. A relationship to literature that is inventive and immersive. When we put something of ourselves into a book, we give it the life that its author intended. I would say that every book on the long list, and I would stress the long list here of 13, has met a small set of its ideal readers this year. This was reflected in the response from the media and from the public. Sana Goyal of Wasafiri magazine said it was possibly the most exciting and forward-looking Booker Prize longlist she'd seen in years. And The Telegraph declared on its front page that the Booker Prize had regained its sanity. There aren't many backhanded compliments you want to put in a frame, but that is certainly one of them. If you haven't yet read the books on the list, please do try the long list quiz at thebookerprizes.com, which will ask you questions like, would you rather have a book recommended to you by Virginia Woolf or George Saunders? Don't worry, we're not tracking your answers and we will not judge you. But let me tell you a little bit about each of the judges. M. John Harrison, Mike Harrison, who cut his teeth in sci-fi but has since written all sorts of stories and novels that defy genre, I would say. In 2020, he won the Goldsmiths Prize for so-called experimental fiction. But before that, I had actually been thinking for some time about whether I might ask him to be a judge, and I put this to the advisory committee. I should just say here that Mike is in his 70s, and James Daunt said to me, well, all of my booksellers in their 20s are obsessed with him. So that's important. I think a little bit of this process is to do with the readers that you're in tune with, the imaginations that you're in tune with. His one-liners are almost as frighteningly acute as his paragraphs, and he's become something of a reluctant guru for this group. Helen Castor, a medieval historian and historian of the medieval period. If you haven't read her, there is extreme humanity in her writing, as well as extreme scholarly research. She reveals people in a way that makes you feel that they are practically breathing right next to you, and she is that reader as well as that writer. Shahid Abari, you'll know from her broadcasting on the BBC, that there is grace, wit, and generosity in her intelligence. I think she can make you feel that within a minute. Alain Mabancou, known in literary circles as the African Beckett, and known in this very small literary circle as the Eric Cantona of the judging room, brings an encyclopedic knowledge of African literary traditions, among others, and is a master of evocative analogies. Neil McGregor, as you'll know, has been the director of the British Museum and the National Gallery. He is a national treasure himself, and I've learnt a great deal from him this year. He somehow makes listening and knowledge synonymous. He's brought the panel together with humour, respect, and a deep commitment to the broader goal of contributing to the literary canon in a democratic and lasting way. I looked through my notes. I've taken notes throughout the meetings this year, and I looked through my notes to see if there was anything I could tell you, but actually all the best bits were confidential and perhaps too identifiable in relation to particular books. But I will say that at one point they observed an aggressive calm in a book, and that was thought to be a good thing. Also that another was ruthlessly grotesque, a term of praise. Somebody said at one point that the book in question was always thinking, and I like that about a book. At one point, the question was asked, is this novel more than itself? And I think that that has recurred quite a bit. You know, you find certain things in its pages, and does what you take with you go beyond its pages? At one point, there was quite an entertaining exchange about whether historical fiction was like LARPing. You don't know what LARPing is, perhaps. Well, some of you do. I did not know what LARPing was. It's live-action role play. In other words, people dressing up like characters in the past. So once you start thinking that, it's quite hard to get out of the habit. So bad historical fiction can certainly do that. And good historical fiction will go so far beyond it that it argues its own case. Another question, will I keep it and reread it to see how it does what it does? There were some books that seemed to come from another time, whether that was in the past or to come. And then at one point, one of the judges said they were looking for irony in a broad sense. He said, I know it's out of fashion, but I like a novel that seems to be telling me one thing, but is actually telling me something else. In the interview that he did for the Booker Prize website, Percival Everett described reading as a subversive act. You may welcome that idea or not, but it may also simply be a convivial act. And I want to tell you a little bit now about a competition that we launched this year. You know, quite often book clubs shadow the judges, or at least shadow the shortlist. And this year we wanted to make that a little bigger and ask people to apply to be here and to continue to read, or to read one book each. So we selected 6, the judges selected 6 book clubs to join them as they reread the shortlist. And one of those clubs will come to the winner ceremony in October. Little did we know, we did this with a reading agency, by the way, which is restricted to the UK. Little did we know that people all over the world would be complaining that they couldn't join in, and that we would receive hundreds of applications. And I have to say that the process of reading those applications, in which we asked people to describe themselves, their book club, how long they'd been together, what sort of things they liked reading together, how they had come to know each other, the process of reading these was extraordinary and extraordinarily heartening. And I really want to thank every single one of them for applying and for giving us a window onto their habits. I can announce now that the 6 book clubs that the judges have chosen, I think Neil will say more about this, but the 6 book clubs are Ouija Bee Gees in Glasgow. Are they here? Are you here? No? Very good, thank you. And I believe you bake cakes to match the books. That was what sold it to us. Okay, good. There is Bridge Books. I know they are not here. Bridge Books in County Down, who would have liked to have been here. They meet at Bridge Books Bookshop, orchestrated by Leslie, who runs that shop, but they actually meet in the pub opposite. And there is also a group from Swansea. Are you here? Yes. Who've been together for 40 years. Is that right? 40 years, and met at Shelter in Swansea, Shelter Cymru, and are still together thanks to reading together. There is the Royal Devon Culture Club. Well, so you're all standing together. You should be dotted about. And you are NHS workers together. Thank you. The Casual Readers Club. Are you here? Are you right here? Who are in London? Thank you. You get to find out after this which book you've been assigned, so that's the really exciting bit. And I think lastly, have I done 5? Perhaps not. Scunthorpe Page Turners in Lincolnshire. And I gather you have a steel worker and a dinner lady amongst your midst. This and a man, yeah, well, that was the other thing. Much more rare. So congratulations and thank you. I hope all of the other hundreds will stay with us, and I hope you will stay with us and read these books too. I'd like now to hand over to Neil, who will announce the shortlist. Thank you very much.
Gabby, thank you very much indeed for that hilarious introduction. And thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I'd like to start by thanking, on behalf of all the judges, it's quite a bold man who would speak for those 4 hyper-articulate, disputatious colleagues that you see in the corner. Actually, we can't have corners in this room. Anyway, over there. But I know we would all want to start by saying thank you, Gabby. And Gabby's team, and the Booker Prize Foundation, and Crankstart for making all this possible. Gabby ended by talking about the book clubs across the UK. And that, of course, brings us right to the heart of what this whole thing is about. I think most of us grew up with the idea that being alone with a good book was one of the great pleasures of life. One of the great developments to me of the last decades has been that actually being with chums over a good book is even better. Sitting around, arguing, chewing over the text, what it meant to us, has become one of the great national sports. As we've just discovered, right across the UK, there are people from all kinds of worlds reading books, talking about them, and enjoying it. It has really become a national team sport. And when we were reading the applications in book clubs from across the whole of the country, I think all of us, the 5 of us, felt a certain wistfulness that your book groups are going to go on and ours is going to stop. After our titanic struggle in 6 weeks' time to choose the winner, we disband, because it has really been the dream book club. And people often ask what's it like to be a Booker judge. And I think people realize enough just what it's, for all of us, it starts in the same way, or did this year. You get phoned up by Gabby, whom I'd never met, none of the rest of us had ever met. And this person who we've never met says, would you like to join me for 7 months on a literary world tour? And we'll be accompanied by 4 other people that you've never met. And we set off. Now, we all know long travel with unknown companions is a risky business. But it has, I think, for all of us, been a wonderful, wonderful experience. A voyage of discovery and of discernment. And it's been, of course, a world tour where the destinations have been set by the publishers. 170 of them, taking us round the world, into the past, into the future, and then bringing us back once a month to talk about what Alain is wearing, and then about the 20 books that we've read since we last met. And all of this, of course, is about the purpose of the Booker Prize, which is to proclaim loud and frequently the importance of fiction, why we need to be able to keep re-examining and reimagining our world and ourselves. But I think this year we became clear that it's also another purpose for the Booker Prize, which is to make a moment to pause and to marvel at what the English language can actually do. what you can do with words. It's often said as a concern that English has become the dominant language of the world. But what we've discovered is, of course, that there are so many Englishes that the idea of the tyranny of a language is offset by the freedoms of these different Englishes, the different ways in which English can be used by people everywhere in the world to explore what's happening to them and to the people around them. And this Serpentine Pavilion is surely the ideal place to do that. Every year, an artist or an architect from all around the world is invited to create a temporary structure here to show what can be imagined, how you can rethink the old traditions of the Pantheon, of circular temples, of kilns, whether it's in Staffordshire or in the Western United States. And what Theaster Gates has done is create, I think, a kind of emblem of the English language, open for people to come and go, and of course the perfect emblem for a place, the English summer party, where those in the middle are doing what we all did as children, pretending it's not raining, and waiting for someone to tell us that if we're cold, then just put on another jumper. And it is a marvelous place to be discussing it, because not only is this about the inherited architectural traditions of the world, but he's mixed it and included in it these panels which are tribute to his father, a roofer in Chicago, who died recently. The cosmic, global inheritance is inflected by the personal experience of Theaster Gates. As you know, one of the disconcerting things about the Booker Prize is that the judges are completely free to set their own criteria. What emerged in our conversations was that we were really looking for two things. And in each of the 6 novels that we've chosen to propose to you, we think we've found them. It was agonizing to get from 170 to 13. It was even more difficult to get from the 13 marvelous books on the long list to the 6th we're about to mention. But in all of the 6, we believe that the author has used language not just to tell us what happened, but to create a world, an imagined universe that we as outsiders can enter, can inhabit, can experience and feel as our own. And in that imagined world, something momentous happens to an individual or to a society. They realize who they are and what they can become. And even more important than that, all these books affirm the importance of finding and sharing the truth. That may sound a bit serious, but they also, almost every one of them, will make you laugh at some point. Because these are, above all, books that we have enjoyed. We've read them and we've reread them with pleasure. They're books that we want to recommend to others. They're not too long, and that may be evidence that we're looking not just at great writing, but also at some great editing. And if most of them are about serious, sometimes tragic subjects, then all of them have moments of high humor. They're not easy books, even though they may be short, but like many great pleasures, some require hard work, and we found them well worth the effort. All the book groups that applied talked of the pleasure they found in chewing over books together. We think that with this shortlist, we've given the book groups and you 6 books that are really worth getting your teeth into. And here they are, in alphabetical order. No Violet Bulawayo, Glory. Percival Everett, The Trees. Alan Garner, Treacle Walker. Shehan Karunatalika, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida. Claire Keegan, Small Things Like These. And Elizabeth Strout, O. William. I hope that there's been a clapometer to record all that. And all we would now want to say, I think, all of us, is enjoy them. And we're going to have a very, very tough time choosing the winner. Thank you.